just spent the weekend Rocky Mountain Way at Plaay Dot Con 2023. What a blast. Totally amazing. End to end, wall to wall. Keith Avalone, Sam Avalone, kudos, and to kudos to everyone there. Man, the heavy hitters in that room, Steve Tower, Mike Fitzgerald, Sean Coleman, Lenny LaFrance, they're all in the program here, which just by the quality of it tells you the level of attention to detail that Keith and Sam and everyone put into Plaay Dot Con. It's really all hands on deck. And I was only there a very short time, but I got to tell you, it felt very welcomed. And, already knew some folks. Again, Al Wilson, we were finally able to meet him in person, and caught up with some unexpected folks. And Keith Curtis, great friend of the channel, and Sean Coleman, one of those unexpected folks. Man, oh man, he's in the National Card Football League. We APBA footballers revere them, or at least I do. They should all be in the Hall of Fame as a unit. Go back to 1981 in Ohio. They pioneered an online method of play. I don't know if any other league had been doing it at the time in 2013, but let's get back to Plaay Dot Con. In terms of APBA, we have a lot of regional tournaments, but you really owe it to yourself to get out to Plaay Dot Con 24. Now, if I'm reciting from memory here, I believe Plaay has been holding an annual convention full stop since 2018, with an online version in 2020, of course. And prior to 2018, they'd been holding regional events out west, Las Vegas, where there is, of course, Chris White's great Las Vegas tournament just wrapped up. And but I gotta tell you, I don't care really if any tabletop sports games you play, you have to get out to Plaay Dot Con, because really it's the hot ticket, the hottest ticket. Again, the design and playing firepower and horsepower in that room is really kind of immeasurable. And you might think at first, oh, that's a little intimidating for me, but man, especially if you're a newcomer, and I think it was a record number of newcomers this year. If you look at the inside the program, they listed the newcomers and all that, and where people are from. I got to tell you, folks drove 1,900 miles in some cases to be here, which having had 2 United flights canceled on me last month coming out of Newark, I heartily recommend driving. It's a beautiful state, of course, airline issues notwithstanding, but man, plan, if you don't really even get to Colorado that much, plan a week around this event. You will absolutely not regret it. It is a wall-to-wall party. In fact, Keith does a house party. I'll put the link to that down in the description here. If you'd like a quick recap, James Cast of Tabletop SportsCast gave you 10 top headlines out of the event, and Keith Avalone posted 11 takeaways on the Play blog, and that's just coverage to come. I'm sure there's a lot more to come. Everyone saw, S.T. Patrick, Sports Sim Magazine, The Squared Circle, and his really intense football game, really collegiate focused. He has some very cool ideas on that. In fact, ST is planning to be in Canton. So really super cool to connect and just bounce ideas off one another. All these events are really energizing. Play in particular, you had a lot of newcomers. You had a lot of folks under 20 years old. Good number of kids there with some really intense ideas, and they are playing really intensely. Everyone is, but it's fun. It's not that really deep competitive thing. The open golf tournament is fantastic. Just can't say enough about it. I really do thank Keith, not only for the little Saturday morning speaking slot, which I hope some folks got something out of, and as I mentioned there, anyone in that room could have given a talk about the future of tabletop sports gaming. So the fact that little old me got to yammer on for a few minutes up there was really quite awesome, and I do thank you again for that. And ST recorded the presentation. I may revisit it for the channel here. Maybe I'll do a version. I don't want to undercut anyone's coverage, but boy, not only did Keith extend that gracious offer to speak, but I got to play a full game of football, which is going to be a top 5 gaming moment for the rest of my life. I mean, a full football game with Keith Avalone, first half with APBA football, second half with second season. man. And now he was playing the 69 Saints, I played the 69 Steelers, and both games play about the same time, and they flow very similarly. And now I know, I've had the game, both of the early version, a pre-2015 version, I believe was the update year, and then a post version, and great teams of the past and the 76 season, all that. Now I know really how it flows, and I don't know how you prefer to learn games, but an event like this is really, really powerful for learning games hands-on from folks who really know, and everyone's so generous. Sean Cullen, who's been in the NCFL 2 years, has also done a couple full season replays with second season, and he was running the table demos for second season. And I gotta tell you, it's a really cool idea. They put color-coded table covers on the event tables, so yellow, red, and blue, and then they just kind of direct you where to go based on those colors. Really super smart and very easy to understand. So again, just a smooth operation front to back. It starts really intensely on Friday, and you walk in to the registration table, and there's a longer set of tables called a flea market from 9 to 10:30 in the morning. I saw Mark Zarb hockey set from some league circa 66, 67. I saw a Downey Games game-winning drive there, and a bunch of other stuff. Someone was giving away some free bobbleheads, just take them. But the flea market is anyone can buy, sell, or trade goods in this 90-minute swap meet session. There'll be new and gently used items, as well as well-worn, defunct, dinged, and dented. you can monitor your items or leave them in the flea market tables unattended with prices and contact information. You might want to leave some room in your luggage for your trip home. You never know what you might find there. I kind of regret not bringing any items, but then again, I'm a bit of a hoarder. We talked about I ran down kind of opened my talk with the 9 mechanics or top of mind issues and for tabletop sports gaming in the next 3 to 5 years, and collectability is one of them. Don't underestimate the power of people who just buy games just to have them. So, wow. I didn't really follow the competition as closely. I was a little fried from my, Monday, my Thursday flight got canceled about 1:45 in the morning, so I was able to rebook for Friday morning, thankfully, but that was a full-on day from Eastern time to Mountain time, and but just fantastic. It goes by so fast. That's the thing about these. It's so energizing. It doesn't matter if you're jet lagged or whatever. These events are so energizing that you come away, you got project ideas. Heck, I asked Keith about his Cold Snap, the Canadian version of second season, and it immediately dawned on me, why don't I play a couple of APBA football teams, American football teams with Canadian rules, 3 down, no fair catch, 1 timeout, a half, 12 people on a field, stuff like that. Lengthen the field a bit for the field goals. Hey, we know that around 74 they had to adjust the kicking game without reprinting the boards, and they did that, just a nice little insert. So yeah, so many thoughts. Keith Avalone is a killer APBA football player. So is Keith Curtis, so is Sean Cullen, and saw some Stratomatic football there even. Obviously, we're pretty football-centric. And S.T. Patrick walked us through his football game that he's been working on. I'm such a lazy bum. Some of us have had files to look at for a while. It's really intense. And when you talk to ST, you'll quickly realize that his level of research and his dedication to his craft is paramount. In fact, it's very much a cradle to grave proposition for him. But I hope that's another huge incentive to come out for Canton, especially. He's going to be there at least Saturday, is at least the tentative plan. I mean, we're still about 4 weeks out from Canton, so did a quick interview with Sean Cullen that I'll post here, and he's just an absolute beacon of energy and positivity. It's so cool. He doesn't even live that far. Like I say, he's been in the NCFL a couple years, so just fantastic. Ambassador and promoter of the game, as are we all. We all have a role to play in securing the future of our tabletop hobby. And yes, it is the golden age of tabletop sports games. I had it in my notes right there. And Glenn Guzzo really drove that point home. I was referring back to an op-ed or an editorial that S.T. Patrick did in Sports Sim magazine, and by the way, always looking for content for the magazine, you know, that's the life of the editor, so, you know, submit articles, and boy, Glenn Guzzo, following Glenn Guzzo, that's very interesting. That's very interesting, not only because he's a godlike legend in sports, tabletop sports gaming, but because for me personally, as a newspaper guy, his newspaper career, I mean, sports editor of the Philly Inquirer, managing editor at the Akron Beacon Journal, and editor at the Denver Post. I mean, that's a pretty, that's a huge deal. Sports editor of the Inky, man, that's massive, really. His papers won 12 Pulitzer Prizes. Yeah, I believe his whole talk was recorded, and certainly S.T. Patrick deposed him afterwards, so there's going to be plenty of material out of there. And everyone likes to hear, you Apple folks will love to know that everyone wants to hear the Dick Seitz stories, so that's, you know, APBA gets a lot of mentions there, and a lot of folks who touch on their APBA history. You know, it's very much a part of the entire game con at Plaay Dot Con, and yes, I was able to demo football, and thankfully Keith Curtis came over and offered to play the AFC Championship from 1972. He took the 72 Dolphins to a 10-0 victory over my 72 Steelers. So yes, I escaped Plaay Dot Con 0-2, but that's fine. I don't really care if I ever win, so I'm a great opponent, just, you know, so you know. Playing Keith Avalone, he brought his original 69 APBA season set in big red box. He played it, I guess, a lot in the Army, and I mean, not only does he recall instantly, because he really, I mean, you know how it embeds yourself in your soul and your muscle memory. You know, he knows a 23 or a 56 or a 42 is, could be good, usually bad or mediocre. But if I'm recalling correctly, I think he was actually practically calling out the actual result numbers on, say, Billy Kilmer's passing columns. Like, oh, I think it's an 8 or a 10 or something. I was like, oh my God. And then he flips over one of his old boards, and lo and behold are all these custom charts for the medium pass and the bomb. It's like, oh man. I had to like, well, stop, we got to take a picture of that. And then we switched over to second season. The Saints ultimately won. Keith and the Saints won 37-24. And it was just great. Second season, which I've owned for a long time. Now I know. So I don't know how you like to learn games, but going in hands-on, I like a kind of immersion approach. You know, just, I may not follow along everything, but I at least see what you're doing, you know, at key points in the game. So I know how he, you know, uses his field. You mark the first down or the line of scrimmage, and then you use another peg to mark the 10-yard, you know, the yard marker kind of a thing. So it's a very interesting method, and you get used to it pretty quickly. And then, you know, you'd be very familiar with it if you've never played it. It's, you know, it's got some, you'll be familiar with it, or it will strike you as familiar as an APBA player, because in second season, you, on offense, call screen, short, medium, and long pass, or inside or outside run. And on defense, you call pass, safe, run, or blitz. And basically what you do is you pick one on defense, you pick one of the 4 colored markers. So, and you just hold it in your hand while the other person is deciding, you know, so you hold out your defense token or somehow conceal it, and then the offensive coach calls the play, and the player, you know, ball carrier or receiver, and of course got all the allocations on his charts. But, you know, so it's really cool. So pass, if you call pass defense, it's the yellow token. The green token. Pass defense is green token. Safe is the yellow token. Run is the red token. So yes, like a stoplight, and then blue is blitz. And what's really cool is that every play in the book has charts related to that play versus what defense, and then there are results for all 4 quarters. I mean, there's a lot going on there. And so you've got lookups, and so you've got, and you're really cool, you've got a lot of qualities. The players are rated with numeric ratings and letter grades. So 2, 1, 0, best to worst. And then those are listed in order of pass and run, just like the APBA ratings, right? And then you've got the letter grades 4A to F, if I'm recalling correctly. And it flows really cool. You know, it's that unique patented narrative approach that really elevates play games for folks who, you know, maybe a little over the APBA boards, which I still love. So, but just the opportunity to open play, with a lot of other games. Grant Fine was there, legend. I didn't get to talk to him. Mike Fitzgerald, I did get to talk to him. He designed baseball highlights and football highlights and a ton of other stuff, scorecards for Play, and we're actually interviewing him this afternoon. So, man, and he like Keith was a radio guy right out here in New York City. So, man, oh man, just wow. Amazing stuff. So you gotta make a plan for next year. And let's see, Sean Cullen, like I say, powerlifting career coach. He showed me this really great replay, a 68 NFL replay by Jeff Cohen. We're going to be interviewing him on Friday. Just another one of those really cool things you pick up from, going to a conference and talking to folks. Probably the most interesting, or the workshop I really wanted to make was the lunchtime presentation on Saturday about creating fictional players, teams, and leagues. Keith spoke with Bob Hansen, who had a killer Bart Starr jersey, and Lenny LaFrance, and a real interesting breadth of approaches from Lenny's really dialed in, ironclad rules for creation and promotion or progression of teams and players versus, Keith will advocate more for the kind of in the moment, on the fly method, which I tend to lean to, but I think you really need that structure. And then Bob, I think, was kind of in the middle, if I'm recalling correctly. I got to digest my notes on that, but that was really cool. And fictional leagues, boy, that's a big deal. And have you ever created, I wanted to know, because I really do want to create a fictional, not a full APBA football league, but an APBA football team. So, of course, we've had the blank cards for years. You could create your own players, but I want to create an Orlando NFL team. I think I'm going to drop them into the 76 season. I don't know. I guess I'd have to put them in the AFC East, but we'll see. I don't know. Maybe play a 17-game schedule, do the same thing that the Bucs did, play all the AFC, recreate the Bucs team with my own team, something like that. But if you've ever played or created an APBA football fictional team, and I know they're out there, maybe more, if you've done the league kind of a thing, I guess, with it. Obviously, folks have created everything under the sun with just about every one of their favorite games. So, what else did we see there? The hotel is great, staff's great. It's in the beautiful Highlands Ranch suburbs, south of downtown. You can walk to a bunch of restaurants, a great entertainment area, very quiet, very clean. And, if you've never been to Colorado and the Rockies, man, it's just, you're surrounded by, it's an amazing experience, particularly if you're a former Flatlander Floridian like I am. So that's, in fact, one of my dearest friends. One of my dearest friend lives down in Salida, which is a great place to visit. I have not yet been, but I know that, he wouldn't be there if it weren't great. And he's been, Netherlands and Lafayette. He's toured me around the whole state. There's a restaurant called Rasta Pasta, which, is a Jamaican take on Italian pasta. There's all kinds of cool stuff. There's a train that runs in a gorge. You can make an entire week around this, and you will not regret it if you don't really get out west that much. So definitely do that. Boy, like I say, it was really cool, actually, because a lot of folks brought along their Stratomatic Fanatics book by Glenn Guzzo, and I actually cited it. I actually noted on page 180 here a passage about when in the 90s, the dreadful 90s, when digital was really starting to get more and more of a foothold, and I just kind of quoted that with his permission during my talk, and recounting some of the past efforts to draw youth into the game. Well, Plaay Dot Con certainly did that, and we're going to actually be out at the Robert Henry this Saturday briefly. Of course, they've been doing great with that. They've got folks who have, Dave Hummel, for instance, who started in 2013 with the first Robert Henry Memorial for the Bridesburg Boys and Girls Club, and they're still playing there. Dave was up in Cooperstown with us. Truly amazing. Heck, we even got a shout out today at the top of the APBA newsletter That's just wild. It's just crazy. You know, I'm just a cheerleader. That's what I want to do. So, I mean, I come up with good projects, I think. And, I think a cool Canadian rules American football game would be fun. But, it's mostly just absorbing what people are talking about, how incredibly dedicated they are to the hobby. And like I said, I mean, not only is it the golden age of tabletop sports games, but this is our real moment. I think we've got the rest of the gaming community and the sports history buff community right where we want them. There's never been more market opportunity for collaborations, for collectible items, and geez, speaking of that, now not only is St. Patrick coming to Canton, tentatively, it's all tentative until everyone gets in that room, I want to see folks, but George Bazzico, the Pro Football Researchers Association, has said he would stop by on Saturday morning. I hope he talks about membership, whatever he wants to talk about, it'll be fine. We're going to be appearing on the Pigskin Dispatch podcast on August 18th to talk about the game of APBA football and all tabletop sports games, really. And Darren Hayes runs that podcast and site. He's already talked to Stratomatic, he's already talked to Plaay, so we get our hat in the ring there as well, and just really emphasize the points that if you're a football history buff or a sports history buff, you really should be checking these things out. You just can't get it out of Madden. Not to knock Madden in any way, although you see that I posted that little video of glitches for Madden 23. You get glitches in every game, as I noted, but I gotta tell you, some games are really wired tight, and Plaay games are absolutely wired tight, and we know how to, which brings up the idea of what is the best game for you. You talk about cross-platform, and Keith is gracious enough to show off a bunch of games, and I want folks to bring their second season or their Stratomatic or their data-driven, bring anything they want to Canton, because I really want to turn it into, that's why I call it Gridiron Games this year. I really want to create, maybe this could turn into a bigger thing, dovetailed with Cooperstown, a big kind of a roving tabletop sports something, I don't know. Maybe partner with somebody in that, I don't know, but it's just, there's a huge audience out there of fans who are learning about sports history, and they can recount amazing details of games they've watched. If you follow a page like Ghost of the Orange Bowl, for instance, or any of the NFL fan pages, these folks are, or Remember the AFL or AFL Anthology, and these folks really know their stuff. They would be ideal gamers because they're intensely detailed, and their energy would be very welcome in the community. So if you're a solitaire player, something like Plaay Dot Con, is great to learn to play face to face, because it's a different animal. Of course, solitaire is a huge thing, but Plaay Dot Con, being able again to play Keith head to head, and it's just I'm trying to think the last time I played. In fact, I played the Keiths. I just thought of that. Yeah. Keith Curtis, Keith Alone. Oh man, it's like playing the Gregs. It's definitely rigorous. They both call great games. I salute you, sirs. But I can't remember the last time I played a head-to-head game. It might have been, well, no, it was the 2014 National Card Football League Global Tournament with featuring Phil Malloy, and the one where I lost, my 2007 Patriots lost to Mike McCune and his 89 Niners, I believe, yeah. And speaking of pairs of dynamic duos, or obviously that's redundant, but you'll remember in Canton 2013 that the final couldn't have been scripted any better, as they say. Greg Wells and the 84 Niners beat Greg Barrett and the 99 Rams. I'll do another video maybe about quick rules, but just going to keep it very open, and definitely bring your G-Tops, your homebrew. I don't care. I want to see what you got, Let's just open it up. I mean, that's exactly what Plaay does, They even tell you, basically they give you instructions to some extent on how to create cards. So a very open source platform is a really good thing, because, united, we are a bigger voice, and, instead of this kind of being off in insular corners, and never the twain shall meet kind of a thing. Being in a room with such energy and really love of all platforms. I mean, everyone's got their opinions about games and all that, different versions of things, but it's just you recount your connection to various platforms. Certainly you might change your mind about some things, and that's good too, or reinforces some things that I made the right choice, whatever. Just always shake up your hobby. That's another thing. Speaking of that, Play conferences are maybe a little quieter than APBA conferences because they don't have shakers that I heard. You go, that's why we kept the doors closed at Cooperstown, but I've encouraged Play folks, keep those doors open in the Learning Center. Let people see what you're doing. They probably heard it, so with the APBA shakers here. I wonder if I could use a brass slide for a shaker. Would anyone? No, I think there are probably some rules against that. Speaking of tournaments and rules, coming right up in the APBA community, Jack Dolan, he has the shaker rule. Shoeless Joe Jackson tournament, the second one, is coming up in South Carolina. They're actually, I think they rented the field this year. They're going to knock some balls around. Hey, whatever platform you're in down there in South Carolina, check out Jack Dolan's Shoeless Joe Jackson tournament at the ballpark there. You got Glass City is going to be on the Saturday that we're in Canton. The Zavellas have agreed to run that in Ron Emch's stead. And of course, it's anniversary season, so I think that's why Greg Barrett isn't going to be able to be in Canton, unfortunately. But we got some very cool folks coming. So, and I hope we get a few more here. Let's see. Then, of course, down at the beginning of next year, you got Frank Fumai's APBA at Sea. I'm thinking about that one, man. I mean, I'm thinking about them all. I'd love to go to them all, and I'm very jealous of you folks in the Midwest and get around. Just Michigan, Toledo, Wisconsin. It's like, oh man, even Slippery Rock kind of often. That's Pennsylvania side there. So if I read the forums correctly, I think a New York tournament is gaining some traction here. I don't know if it's going to be on Long Island. I wanted to do one called APBA in the Apple back in 2014. I still have a logo for that, and might still think about doing something here. I know about Central Park, permits there, but maybe Liberty State Park right outside the Statue of Liberty. You don't need a permit if you're under a certain head count, and that's one of the things I emphasize as well. Events, in terms of securing the future of the tabletop sports gaming hobby, are events. Create events. You can even, I've got a local library here. They offer speaking slots to folks. If you know anything about, your regions. I mean, here you got the Yogi Berra Museum. You got the Hinchliffe Stadium just opened up. Larry Doby in the Negro Leagues here. That's one of the two last Negro League stadiums, I believe. They just reopened it. The Jackals moved over there. So, you can talk about a lot of history, and you can actually pull some games out and say, this is what it was like facing Larry Doby, anything like that in any of your libraries. You got state sports halls of fame, although I think in New Jersey, I think we don't. But, They also haven't connected the monorail to the A terminal, the new A terminal yet, which is really fun if you're flying out of Newark and you haven't gone to the new terminal yet and you're taking the train. Note that the train is not connected. Hey, pup, there's my girl. You want to say hi, Sadie? What do you think there? Hello. Hi. So I guess that's telling me to wrap it up here. And I got a bug on my Gibson. Hi, girl. You want to go to Play? Someone even brought their dog, by the way. Someone even brought their dog out to Plaay Dot Con, and that's all in the James Cast's roundup. So you can read more about the Plaay Dot Con 23 at their sites. And hey, I'm planning for 24 already. I say you can't go wrong with this tournament and spending a week in Colorado, any amount of time you can. Incredible group of folks. Is there any group of tabletop gamers that isn't really kind of cool? More often than not, I think everyone's a rock star there. I mean, just the open golf play was just amazing, and all the demos, the Friday night action was just intense, wall to wall, right down to the last minute. Folks went all night long too, so it's It's all very intense. I had a great time, and so I hope to see you there next year.